Grumpster. This upcoming election in November is one of the most important ones in our history, probably. If you think your vote doesn't matter, it does. So we encourage you to get out, exercise your right, cast your vote. It's not always just for the leader. It's also about the people under them and all the propositions, everything. So get out there, cast your vote. This year counts more than ever.
I'm feeling so mindless, like we're wasting our time just sitting here. It's true, there's nothing left to do but twist these knives deeper into our chests that fill. Full of rage we bred in our fucked up heads, and it's making us insane. So fare thee well, oh dear, this was my biggest fear. Let's go our separate ways. It's strange deranging, I'm freaking out, but I can't explain myself at all. Speechless like a cat who's got my tone. It's been so long since I have felt this. Your words weigh on me every day, my friend, and
Cynthia. Thank you for interviewing with us today. We're super excited. We can start with introducing ourselves. So I'm Abigail. I use she, her pronouns, and it's my first time interning with the Washington bus, which has been super exciting.
My name is Nick. My pronouns are he, him, and I am an intern with the Washington bus.
And then, hello, my name is Stefan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also an intern with the bus.
I'm Sebastian. I'm an intern with Washington Bus, and my pronouns are he, him.
Hi, I'm Saba. I'm also an intern with the Washington bus, and my pronouns are she, her.
And just before we start to go over the format, we're asking about 10 questions, and then we'll ask the question and then give you a chance to respond.
What inspired you to run for office, and how did you get involved in politics?
My name is Cynthia Delastrinos Johnson. I use she, her pronouns, and I've been in office for 10 months. This is my first time in elected office. I'm on the Tukwila City Council, and I'm in position number 4, but all of the city council positions represent the city at large. Growing up, I am a daughter of immigrant parents from the Philippines. When my parents immigrated here back in the 80s, it was just me and like my immediate family, and the rest of my family, extended family, all lives in the Philippines. It really wasn't until I got into high school that I really started to become more politically engaged. Like before, my parents didn't really talk about politics. It wasn't that discussion we talked about. My parents couldn't even vote until until maybe just a few years ago. My mom just became a citizen this year. So, there was no voting going around at my house. And it really just started with my sisters and I as we got older. Throughout like that time between high school and law school, I was really involved as a young person in protests. Like I was protesting the WASL standardized testing because of the way that it disproportionately impacts students of color. I was part of different like Asian civic engagement and leadership groups, like the Asian Community Leadership Foundation. I got involved in campaigns, like when Barack Obama was running for president. I got involved in that campaign because I was in college at UW at that time. Other things that I did in law school, I ran for like student government to be the diversity representative, the public interest representative, because I had an interest in wanting to spread information about like things like representation and why race matters, and talking about like systemic inequities even within my law school space, because if you can imagine, in law school, it's not a very diverse place. Being involved in that just got me more like civically engaged in general, understanding how important it is to have diverse voices at the table in government spaces, making decisions that impact a lot of people.
So I'm Councilmember Brian Yambe, as was said earlier. I have been, I use he, him, his pronouns. Been on the city council, the city of Fife, for 7 years now. My involvement, it kind of started as when I was growing up, and my mom was the chairperson of the Federal Way Diversity Commission. She was the very first chair. And she couldn't afford a babysitter for me, so I went along with her to meetings. And I heard them talk, the adults talking about equity, about diversity, about issues of inclusion, making sure that government reflected and listened to the diverse populations that it served. And it always struck me as something that people looked like they cared about, and it sounded that it was an issue that the people in the room cared about a lot. I've been doing it for, wrote my first letter to the editor in 2nd grade, and been a part of local, state, and federal campaigns since like 2nd grade. And so my first campaign was officially kind of like a big one was in 2000. I was a high school student, and I had gone phone banking for the state coordinated campaign at that time. So I've been doing it for a while. I am on my third campaign as campaign manager. 2018, I served as campaign manager for State Representative Milan Tai. Got her elected to the state legislature. She's our first woman of Vietnamese descent, and she's the first refugee in state government for Washington State. And then more recently, I am campaign manager for State Representative Jesse Johnson and working to send him back to Olympia. So I've had the privilege of working for some incredible people and incredible leaders who are making a difference in state government, and the reverberations from those things are felt not only in the state but beyond.
Cheesily enough, was actually fifth grade. I ran for class president. I ran on I think my promises were graham crackers every Thursday or something. I don't remember the exact promises I made, but that was when I really first was interested in serving in a leadership capacity for my class in that small way. But where that came from was my grandfather was the chairperson of our tribal government for a long time. My mother and my family have all been kind of activists and just people that are fighting for our community, for our people, particularly as Native people. I had done the Peace Corps. I'd kind of gotten some service opportunities, experience, and I joined this group called Soul Force Equality Ride, and we basically traveled the country in a bus, zigzagging our way and talking to high schoolers and college students around race and power and privilege and oppression and discrimination and prejudice, and really doing these trainings and workshops across the country around that. And I think that's where I got my activist bent. Once I got to Seattle, I had some really, really exciting opportunities to serve as the president of the Capitol Hill Community Council for 4 years. I was on the Seattle Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, and it was all came from this place of, there's not enough folks that look like me on boards, commissions, task force committees that are in charge of these big important things in our city and our state. For me as a queer Native person and as a young person on the SHA board, I wanted to bring the voice of workers. I wanted to bring the voice of queer people. I wanted to bring the voice of Native people and other people of color into the experience when we're thinking about policies for SHA.
My name is Yasmin Baena. I also go by Yaz for short, and my pronouns is she and her, ella in Espanol. This is my third year on city council. I am up for re-election next year, and it's my first term. I was born and raised in Walla Walla, and that's where I currently serve on city council. And I didn't speak any English, even though I was raised here. My parents are migrant workers, so we traveled 6 months out of the year to Mexico, and that's where we lived. And then we came back. When my parents came back to work in high school, I had a mentor. He just won the teacher of the year, or for a certified class, so for the whole state of Washington, and his name is Melito Ramirez, and he was in charge of encouraging students who qualify for the migrant program, and I did. And so he took us to conferences of leadership, and that kind of sparked my interest, and I became very involved my junior and senior year of high school. Backtrack to 3 years ago, 3.5. The world was crazy, right? 2016. And so I was, okay, something like just triggered, and it's like, this isn't normal. I can only do so much in my teaching world, in which I was very active and still am. I did a lot of parenting classes. I taught night school in Spanish for adults, and I was still a kindergarten teacher. So I was actively involved in the education world with my parents and my family and my community, but I needed to do more. Former city council woman, Mary Lou Jenkins, I had her granddaughter in my kindergarten class, and she was also one of the first Latinas that got elected. And so, we had that connection. And so she helped me along with her husband to kind of set up the whole account on F1s and all that beautiful tax stuff. And they just kind of, hold my hand along the way. So again, without mentors, I really wouldn't be as successful as I am. But it was time. I think Walla Walla is in the place where we are changing, and we need to be part of that conversation at the table, or if we're not, then we need to make our own table and make things happen in our community.
My name is Corey Walster. I'm an Oglala Lakota tribal member and the community organizer for the Civil Survival Project. I carry the label of felon. I'm making this video to talk to you about the importance of voting rights restoration. For me, that means I'm here to share what voting means to me, how voter disenfranchisement feels, how it affects our communities, and who is most impacted. I was addicted to meth by 16 years old. I didn't fit the mold that the educational system was designed for. I started being pushed out of the educational setting in grade school and eventually dropped out. I've been through the prison system twice and was released for the last time in 2005. Under current laws, I can vote, but it hasn't always been that way, and still isn't for so many. I was arrested for my first felony, my 18th birthday. I lost my right to vote before ever getting a chance to use it. How does losing the right to vote feel? It confirms that I'm an outsider and I don't belong. It's confirmation that they were right. It confirms what I've felt most of my life, that I'm a throwaway person of no value to society. What does voting mean to me? It means I have a voice again. It reaffirms that I'm part of a community. It gives me a sense of working towards a greater goal, a better community. It reminds me that I'm part of something bigger than myself. Voting gives me hope. We need all people coming home to feel that sense of community, that vested interest for healthier and safer communities. The people that are affected by voter disenfranchisement are a population of people that are survivors of traumatic life experiences, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. It's people who come from generational cycles of substance use, mental health disorders, foster care, and incarceration. 1 in 3 people in America has a criminal record of some kind. It's our neighbors, our friends and family. We are not throwaway people. The communities most affected are disproportionately people who are poor and people of color. Most people returning from incarceration will be coming back to our neighborhood. They'll be coming home. We need to come home to a community that wants us, that values us, and we need to come back healthier with our traumas addressed, not with continued punishment on top of punishment. Taking the right to vote away has never made anyone safer. I ask, please support voter reenfranchisement by supporting Senate Bill 6228 and the equally powerful companion bill that'll be in the House. These bills will simply allow people who are no longer under 24-hour physical incarceration by DOC to vote again. Please contact your state senators and representatives and ask them to support voter reenfranchisement. And ask for no carve-outs. Carve-outs disproportionately affect people of color and those living in poverty. Please feel free to contact me with any questions at info@civilsurvival.org. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Farren. Thank you to the Vera Project, Vera TV for having me. I'm gonna play some songs. Yes, this song's called Phantom Friend. No! That's wrong. This song's called Phantom Friend. Phantom friend, where have you been? You surf on the waters that I'm drowning in. All I ever wanna do is float along the coast with you. You know, yeah, you know. Maybe I honestly just don't care where you've been. racing up to meet that new plateau. All I ever wanna do is die upon that hill with you. No, yeah, you know. Maybe I honestly just don't care where you've been. Maybe it's better left unsaid. Maybe I honestly just don't care. No, I don't care. If you don't come home in your silent home, the one I wish I'd never known. You said you play for space, but how much you could say. And so I wave my hand, and the sky split overhead. Now there's a galaxy between us. Oh, now there's a galaxy between us. Maybe I honestly just don't care where you've been. Maybe it's better left unsaid. Maybe I honestly just don't care. No, I don't care. If you don't come home, I honestly just don't care. Woo! Okay, great. One down. So my name's Chris Farren. I live in Los Angeles with all the other big celebs. I wanted to say I actually already voted. I mailed in my vote. So I'm pretty much a big hero. And you could be a big hero like me, big famous Chris Farren, by voting as well. Does that make it appealing to you? Or does that make you just think I'm so stupid? No. It feels very important to vote this year more than any time ever that I've been alive, and I'm only 18 years old, so that's not that long of a time. But if you have the ability to vote, I cannot recommend it enough. Because the world, it's a bit of a vampire, isn't it? Remember? Okay. I have a new song. It's called Fall in Love Tonight. This will be the first time I ever have played it live, as it were. And I hope I don't. It's going to be good. I'm going to do a good job. Here we go. Into And no, I did not screw up the solo. I did actually a very good job. Thank you, Vera Project, for having me. My name's Chris Farren. I'm on tour right now. Just kidding. Bye.
Can you speak more on your views regarding like the importance of representation in politics and how your personal experiences have informed that importance to you?
So one thing that I didn't know when I decided to run for Tukwila City Council was that I would become, and I am, the first woman of color to ever, and first API to ever be on Tukwila City Council. And to me, when I found that out, it was almost like a punch in the gut, because what that really said to me in Tukwila, which is majority people of color, where APIs make up the majority of the people of color, groups within Tukwila, it just said to me that our voices have not been at the table. And I mean, we do have other people of color, but I think women of color also bring that intersectional lens of gender and race that was missing from the table until I came on board. And to me, like, even just being the first says that there have been so many decisions made, so much of the history of Tukwila, the way that services run, that just have not had that voice at the table. And when I do things in my position now, being able to see the types of decisions that I'm making and knowing that historically that voice hasn't been at the table, it's just so it's powerful and empowering to me, but also it puts a greater emphasis on myself to make sure that I'm doing things to inspire the future me's, because we're talking about a system that's already been built without me, without us, without voices, certain voices, groups at the table, and now coming in and trying to make incremental changes. Right now, I think there's a really big opportunity in doing like being engaged ever since I was in high school. I graduated in 2006, so there's so many more people that have been doing this work for so long. But right now is a really, really different and a really, really special time. We truly are living in the modern day civil rights movement. That's what it is right now. And I never thought that I would be able to do and say the kinds of things that are being said at these decision making tables right now, if not for this movement. It's an exciting time for people of color, people from historically underrepresented backgrounds, to get involved and to start like claiming their space. Truly, like, this government is our government. We all pay taxes. We deserve a seat at the table, and our voices matter now more than ever if we're actually going to make change.
On my dad's side, he is an immigrant from Japan, and my mom is a third-generation Japanese American whose family were interned in the concentration camps in World War II for Japanese Americans. And it was always a challenge growing up between two different philosophies. One of the immigrant, which was if you work hard, you play by the rules, and you can get anything, versus the mom's side, who was saying that's true, but it's a little bit more complicated, and you're always having to read between the lines. And maybe that if there were people who were like us in government, that things like Japanese incarceration, things like more contemporarily, families in refugee camps and kids in cages, if you had people who look like you making policies in government, perhaps that some of those things could be different. One point that I consistently make in council meetings, especially now when we've been talking about issues of like social justice, when we've been talking about issues of civil rights. When the Constitution was written, it did not include people, oftentimes people like me and people like us. And so through the dedication, the hard work, the perseverance, the fights and constant fighting and organizing, is that we earned the recognition to be a part of what the Constitution represents. And so taking that to heart, it's so important that people be able to see themselves in leadership positions, in government.
Yeah, the world was crazy, right? 2016. And so I was, okay, you know, something like just triggered, and it's like, this isn't normal. I can only do so much in my teaching world, in which I was very active and still am. I did a lot of parenting classes. I taught night school for in Spanish for adults, and I was still a kindergarten teacher. So I was actively involved in the education world with my parents and my family and my community. But I needed to do more. It's something that I felt the passion for. And so a re-election was up. And again, mentors, we call them the three wise men in the Latino community that we have here in Walla Walla. And there are three men that have, you know, they're older, they're viejitos. And so they're trying to pass the torch, and they send like a massive email of over 100 Latinos, young. So people that just recently graduated from high school, from universities, the people that have their own businesses in town. And they pretty much told us, you know, you guys need to step up in the community of Walla Walla. We're about 33% in the city limits. And so we need more representation everywhere, school board, city council, state level, anything you need, we're here to help. And so, yeah, and so I was like, okay, I'll raise my hand, I'll do it.
There's not enough folks that look like me on boards, commissions, task force committees that are in charge of these big important things in our city and our state. For me, as a queer Native person and as a young person on the SHA board, I wanted to bring the voice of workers. I wanted to bring the voice of queer people. I wanted to bring the voice of Native people and other people of color into the experience when we're thinking about policies for SHA. And as I was doing both the community council and Seattle Housing Authority, I realized the power in policy and how it can move the needle on the things that I'm interested in, which is economic justice, racial justice, gender justice. And all it takes is being part of the conversations that are in charge of policy. How can I actually be in those spaces and places as a queer person, as a Native person, as a young person, as somebody without kids? I want to be in the room when these decisions are being made that have a long-term impact. Because if they're not in policy, then they don't really live anywhere, and they're not going to really change structures or systems. And so just like this decision around same-sex marriage, it's not really in law right now. So it can continue to be weighed and discussed and judged in the courts. But we need, whether it's at this federal level, state, those types of levels, that actually needs to be a law. And that for me has been a big impact, particularly as a queer person, that, resolutions can be nice, flags can be really great symbols, but if it's not in policy, then it's not going to happen. And there's no accountability for it to even happen unless there's policy. And I think as nerdy or in the weeds as policy is, you have to be there and you have to be focused on policy and law, because that's how you kind of make some transformational change. And if we're just depending on the courts to make decisions for our communities and for our society, it's a little bit more flimsy because we can't rely on that as much as we can on law or policy. So really, as a queer person, I recognize that my fight has to be putting stuff in writing. And then we have to make sure there's accountability. As a Native person, the interesting thing is we did have things in writing, but many of those promises have been broken, whether it's treaties or land rights, water rights, fishing rights. And so here's me as a queer person understanding that we have to put things in writing, while at the same time, who I am as a Native person understands that even if you put stuff in writing, there's got to be accountability, and you have to follow it through, and you have to be on them and making sure that they're doing everything to the letter of that treaty, for example. So it's an interesting spot to be. My philosophy personally is work on policy and accountability, and really make sure that people can't backtrack on their word.
Wheat pasting is an installation technique that uses a mixture of water and wheat flour to create an adhesive to post posters to a surface. This is a very low-cost way of getting art and messaging out into public space. Because it's easy to mass-produce posters, wheat pasting enables you to deploy a nuanced, complex message at a large number of locations with minimal effort and risk. To get started, you will need to gather your materials. First, you'll need a brush. Deck brush or a wide hand paintbrush all work great. You'll need a bucket or a container wide enough to fit a brush. A 5-gallon bucket is great if you have a lot of surface area to cover, or a small hand bucket if you want to be more inconspicuous, move more swiftly, and are covering smaller areas. Then, a wheat paste mixture. This can either be made at home or bought from a hardware store. And lastly, the posters you want to put up. Next, you'll want to consider your location and what you will be installing. Pick a location that has good public visibility. For a longer lasting installation, select a surface that is smooth and clean. Avoid uneven or rough surfaces, and do not install on brick or private or government buildings. You will also need to determine the size of the area you want to cover. This will determine the quantity and the size of the posters you put up. You'll need to determine what you want to install. You can either design your own poster, or if you are looking for posters to paste up, Amplifier.org offers a wide selection of artworks to download and print out for free. Amplifier is a nonprofit design lab that builds art and media experiments to amplify the most important movements of our times. We design and distribute art that engages people in the creation of a more just, inclusive, and sustainable future. Once your artwork has been selected, make sure that you are printing on uncoated porous paper that is in similar weight to standard printer paper or butcher paper. This allows for the paste to absorb into the paper and stick onto the surface you are installing on. The wheat paste should have the same consistency as tomato juice. Add water as needed to reach this consistency. Lastly, adding gel medium or acrylic medium will make the work more rainproof to last longer out in the streets. When you're ready to install, pour your wheat paste into your bucket. Using your brush, apply an even base layer of paste to the wall to the size of the poster you are putting up. Align your print where you want it placed and adhere to the wall. Using your brush, apply another even layer of paste over the entire print, smoothing out air bubbles and making sure the corners are covered with paste and flat against the wall. If you have any dry spots, the poster is not going to stick as well. Repeat these steps as needed and then let dry. And there you have it, a fast, cheap, and easy way to get your message out into the streets. Here are some quick tips to keep in mind while out. Be inconspicuous if you are unsure of the legality of the placements of posters you are installing. Go with a friend and keep an eye out for trouble. Avoid defacing or vandalizing property and be respectful of other art pieces on the streets. Areas that already have public advertising, places with posters already up, or empty plywood are usually a safe bet. Watch out for nails and other hazardous materials that could cause injury. Lastly, pick a clear day to go out and avoid installing in the rain.
Hi, I'm Kelsey, and I'm the Partnerships Intern with Fairvote Washington, advocating for ranked choice voting.
Hi there, I'm Eli, and I'm the Legislative Intern.
I'm Yasmin, and I'm the Communications and Organizing Intern.
I'm Tara, and I'm also one of the Communications and Organizing Interns.
We all joined this movement because we believe in the benefits of ranked choice voting. It's a simple upgrade to our democracy that lets you rank your favorite candidates in order and elect someone that best represents you and your community.
This is important because it eliminates the spoiler problem by giving you the option to vote for your favorite candidate without the fear of throwing your vote away or unintentionally voting for a candidate that you don't want.
It also encourages candidates to run positive, friendly, issue-focused campaigns where they incentivize reach beyond party lines. So if they can't be your first choice, they can be your second or third.
Right now, elected officials across Washington state don't reflect our communities. Meanwhile, places that use ranked choice voting see more diversity of choice on the ballot and more minority candidates can run and win in elections.
As a younger voter, I see too many of my friends disengaging from politics because they feel that the system wasn't designed for them. This is why ranked choice voting is important, because it will make sure our voices are heard.
Ranked choice voting is one of the best steps we can take towards building a civil, representative, and inclusive democracy that's appealing to voters like us.
Although I can't vote right now, I hope that by the time I can, I'll be able to use ranked choice voting to vote for the candidates that truly represent me, knowing that my voice will be heard even if my first choice doesn't win.
And we aren't alone in this. In 2016, Maine became the first state to successfully enact RCV, and New York and Alaska are fighting to do the same.
So I hope you can join us. Visit our website at fairvotewa.org or follow us on Instagram to learn about how you can get involved and make our democracy work better for everyone.
Last time I stole my father's keys, I couldn't have been older than 19. I hightailed his car from New Jersey to Willow Road. Those street signs vandalizing suburban streets and disturbing the peace. Everything we passed, we smashed. It was broken pavement, shattered glass. Would not read the street signs through the snow. Just an afterthought, rushing past all the roads we drove. So the violent and reckless by North Philly detectives occupied the streets where we never have a thing. Putting up long rips and knife hits, Protestant blues, sticking Pope tattoos. We're just overprivileged youths seeking something to do. Could not read the street
So kind of discussing, you know, the efforts that it takes and sometimes the pitfalls that youth kind of face when trying to get engaged with government. I was wondering what any advice that you had for younger individuals kind of wanting to hold office or kind of be in these rooms that they otherwise wouldn't be in.
The thing is, keep with it. The thing is you have, oftentimes you have everything that you need to start. Sometimes you need more to keep it going, but so many young people today have the passion, the heart. They have not only that, but they have knowledge and they care, and they want to improve things. They don't want to accept the way that things have always been. And that's a good place to start, if anything at all. And the challenge is how do you keep it up? The challenge is how do you win people onto your side? But it takes persistence, and it takes, you know, being able to be flexible, not necessarily in always feeling like you have to give in order to get what you need, but recognizing that, you know, change takes a little time. And everybody who's watching, we're here for you. We're not just here for our neighborhood, our city, or, you know, or even state. Reach out to us. Don't hesitate. We're here and we're trying to build a community. And if you're interested in building community, then feel free to reach out. So
tips for anybody young or whatever age you are, actually, just do it. What's the worst case that can happen? What's the worst case scenario? You don't become successful the first time, but then you can do it again. Definitely just try it. You know, this is how I pump up my little kindergartners. Like, yeah, you don't know how to read yet, right? The word is yet. Todavía no sabes, mijo, but I'm here to help you. And if you know, kindergartners are never give up, we're not giver uppers. We got this. You know, we can do it together. And so that's the tip I would give to anybody. Is like, if this is your passion, regardless if it's for city council, on the state level or representative, you know, national, or even within your own community, whether it be through church or your own groups, your own clubs, take that leap. So my number one goal is just, besides diversity of the color of my skin, is also diversity of age. So I want, you know, as city council, I want people, especially the young population, you can do it. People that have a job, because some of these meetings and it's time consuming, you know, it's hard. It's like a second job. It's like a part-time job. You can still do it even when you do have a full-time job, or even more, because sometimes I work 60 to 70 hours a week. Even right now with distance learning, I am sometimes trying to learn all these platforms that I have to teach my students while I'm teaching myself and the parents, because parents also have to navigate at the kinder level. So definitely I think that what I've been able to contribute is that if I can do it, a person that didn't speak English, a person that, you know, her parents didn't speak English, first generation, first college student, first master's, first almost everything, then anybody can do it. And there's no excuse for anybody to not participate in your civil duties.
Young people, and I'll steal this line from Director Hersey, and he knows I will, and I'll tell him I'll give him credit, because I told him I would whenever I said it. But the feeling that youth are the truth, right? I'm an adult. I've been jaded. I've been in meetings. I've been disappointed. But youth are the truth, and you are so close to who you are in your person and your surroundings that you don't see all the. This is what the legal says. This is what the fiscal impact is. You just see why, if the system is built this way, why is it this way? It doesn't work for me. Young people know so much more than adults give them credit for. So I think first is that I think if young people hear anything, is just that you are the truth, you are power, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are important, and don't, you know, age is, you know, not to be playing on any popular songs, but really age is nothing but a number. And if you come in with confidence, if you come in with an understanding of what you want, what you believe, what you want to see for yourself, then, you know, shame on any adult that says you shouldn't be in those rooms or at that table. I was a young person like you not very long ago compared to other folks in politics. And the reason I'm here at 34 is because when I was your age, I told myself I wanted to be in these spaces and in these places, and that I deserve to be. I didn't always follow the path, and certainly, that's 15 years ago, but it was always in the pursuit of, I want to make an impact. I want to make a change. This is a way to do it. I don't see enough people that look like me in those rooms. I'm going to go do the stuff that I needed for myself as a young person, particularly in the public schools. And so you all have the power. You all have the knowledge. Just picture yourself in these rooms, in these spaces, making the transformational change that our communities need, and you will be there. Your word creates your reality.
Get involved. Whether it's volunteering at a food bank, whether it's participating on a youth council, you can always get involved at whatever point you're at. You don't have to wait until you're of age to run for office. It's actually better to just find ways to engage in your community, whatever your community means to you. It doesn't have to be the city you live in. It could be, for me, it was getting involved in local Asian Pacific Islander leadership organizations. It was getting involved at UW, as part of the Filipino Students Association. Wherever I was, and wherever you are, I would say find your community, because that's really what it's about. When you run for office, you're representing your community. So start building whoever your community is now. And listening. I think listening is the most important thing that you can do. Listening and then speaking up, and really speaking up for those whose voices may not be at the table. What's happening right now is we all are asked to be leaders. This is a movement, a leader-full movement. Not a leader-less movement, it's a leader-full movement, because every single one of us, in order to really get to the place we want to be, to get to the change we want to see, we all have to see ourselves as leaders. I'm not going to change everything. I'm only one person. I need everybody to join me. I need everybody to claim the space that they have and be the leaders within their class, within their school, within their community, within their family. Because that's really where the change is. It's within you and it's around you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I know just in this last half an hour, everything you said has been so inspiring, and I feel more empowered just leaving this conversation. So yeah, I'd really just like to thank you for taking the time and for all the work that you're doing. I know it's doing a lot of good. And it was truly a pleasure, and I really hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. And to everyone who's watching this in the future, remember to vote if you can, and stay involved where you can. So yeah.
Yes, definitely vote, and tell everybody to vote. Your whole family, make sure they turn in those ballots, or turn them in for them. Tell them you'll drop them off.
And encourage your friends to vote, and your parents, and your sisters. And your brother.
Don't forget to vote. Stay safe. Wash your hands and take care.
Hi, I'm King County Director of Elections, Julie Wise. We're here at our King County Elections headquarters, where we process all of the ballots. You're going to get a sneak peek through a great video that's about to play about how the things work in the elections office. But before that, let me take a moment to encourage you to make sure that your voice is heard this election and every future election. You may be surprised that there are elections that are still won by just a handful of votes. We need every voice heard, especially the voices of our youth that really, really matter. About our local offices, our big federal offices. Every election matters, but it starts with voting. Make a plan. Get your friends together. Go through the issues and the candidates. Familiarize yourself with those. And then make a plan for how you're going to return your ballot. The United States Postal Service, or to one of those mini ballot drop boxes, or even coming into a vote center. No matter the method, don't lose this opportunity to have your voice heard, because you matter. Now take a look at this awesome video of behind the scenes elections tutorial.
Are you registered to vote? You can register by mail. You can register in person, even on election day. Or you can register online. You can do it right now. Just grab your ID and go to votewa.gov. Enter your name, date of birth, and complete a few simple steps. That's it. You're now registered to vote in Washington State, and you'll receive a ballot in the mail before the next election. Well done. In King County, all voting is done by mail. So if you're registered to vote, about 3 weeks before the next election, you'll receive a voter's pamphlet in the mail. It covers all the candidate races and ballot measures happening where you live. Around the same time, your ballot will arrive in a separate envelope. With it, you'll also find a security sleeve and a return envelope. Set those aside for now. You'll need them later. Now grab a pen. It's time to vote. Be sure to follow the instructions on how to fill out your ballot. And don't worry if you make a mistake. It's easy to fix. Once your ballot is complete, remove the stub at the top and slip your ballot into the security sleeve. Then seal it in the return envelope and make sure to sign the back. Your signature verifies your vote. Now your ballot is ready to be returned. You can drop it in the mail, no stamp needed. But don't delay. To be counted, your ballot must be postmarked by Election Day. So we recommend mailing it no later than the Friday before the election. You can also return it at a convenient ballot drop box anytime before 8 p.m. on Election Day. Either way, by mailbox or drop box, your ballot is on its way to us. That's it. You're done. You voted, and your voice will be heard. Okay, you returned your ballot. Now what? It gets delivered here, to King County Elections Headquarters. This is where the ballot validation process begins. First, your ballot signature is compared to the signature we have on file. That's why signing the return envelope is so important. If there is an issue, not to worry. Trained specialists investigate any discrepancies. And if needed, we'll reach out to make sure you're, well, you. Once your signature is confirmed, your ballot is removed from the envelope. The signed envelope gets archived. And from this point on, your ballot is completely anonymous. Now, your vote is ready to be counted. It's time to count the vote. This is where your vote becomes your voice. Your ballot gets fed through a scanner that tallies every vote. If your ballot has been corrected or damaged or has other issues, we've got you covered. It gets inspected by trained specialists to ensure the intent of every vote is counted correctly. All the votes are then digitized and stored on a secure offline server, and the tally continues every day while ballots are being returned. But nobody, and we mean nobody, can access the data until initial results are released at 8 p.m. on Election Day. It's 8 p.m. on Election Day. The deadline to return ballots by mail has passed, and all the drop boxes are now closed. So, it's time for results. All the votes tallied so far are immediately posted on our website. But the election isn't over. Ballots will continue to arrive over the next few days, and some ballots coming from active military or residents living overseas can take even longer to get here. So, to ensure every vote is counted, the results won't be finalized until several weeks after Election Day. Because your vote is the foundation of our democracy. The measures we vote on and the candidates we elect shape the communities we live in and affect our lives every day, here at home and around the world. Your vote is your voice, and we're committed to making sure every voice is heard.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, we're Dietic.
And we're here in our living room to play you some songs and to encourage you to get registered to vote and to actually do it. You can check your registration while you listen to this first song. It's off our new album, and it's called Night Terrors. I've been staying up all night, just as long as I can remember. Let me tell you what it's like to freak out your friends, your lovers. I'm doing my best to keep it in check, but it's out of my control. There's a man at the end of my bed, and he wants my soul. Know that you feel it too. I just wanna protect you. Want you to wake up next to me. Sorry when I dream, I scream. At night tears every day this week. Promise not to kill you in my sleep. I've been staying up all night, just as long as I can remember. Let me tell you what it's like. I haven't slept since last September. I'm doing my best to keep it in check, but it's out of my control. It's the only thing in my life. Haven't I grown? Know that you feel it too. I just wanna protect you. Want you to wake up next to me. Sorry when I dream, I scream. At night tears every day this week. Promise not to kill you in my sleep. Want you to wake up next to me. Sorry when I dream, I scream. At night tears every day this week. Promise not to kill you in my sleep. Hell yeah! Okay, before we play our next song, I just want to talk briefly about mutual aid. It's something really cool that you can get involved with outside of voting, because we're not going to let voting be our last step, but it's a really important step. So look up mutual aid organizations in your city, get involved. It's about redistributing wealth. It's about helping each other. So let's do that and vote, get registered. So while you Google your mutual aid groups near you, we're going to play a song called Made of the Mist. Wanna hold a seance for every heart broken, put them all in a room and say get over it. I'm fine.
Another thing you can do while you're thinking about registering to vote or checking your registration also is donating to bail funds in your area. Make it a habit to donate to your local bail fund, to national bail funds. Cash bail is evil. If you don't know about cash bail, you can Google it. It's so evil. It keeps people in jail when they haven't even been charged with a crime. Like it's garbage. So yeah, donating to bail funds can be really helpful, along with voting and joining in a mutual aid organization or donating to them. Like, there are so many things that we can do outside of voting, but voting is like the easiest one, I think, of all of them if you have the privilege to vote. So please check your registration and just do it, either by mail or you can go in person if you feel safe. Let's try to make a future that is easier to organize within. All right, this last song is called Harvard.
How's your new Ivy girlfriend? Is she boring to you in a way I couldn't stand in? I'm not sorry. I just hope you trust her more than me. You were never wanting to date a college girl. Well, I hope you got something out of that deal, or made your parents proud. Hey, Mom, I bet she's not as loud. Does it feel better to be in an Ivy League sweater? Does it? Put your work shoes on and talk about her at your shitty job. Fuck that. Does it feel better in that cold Boston weather? Fuck your Ivy League sweater. You know I was better. Fuck your Ivy League sweater. Woo! Remember, go vote. It's cool, and it's a little thing you can do to help. Check your registration. Get involved with mutual aid. Donate to bail funds. And more. Sick. Thanks for having us. We're called Diet Sig, and we'll see you at the polls.